Hey everybody, Questwise here, and today I wanted to do a little kind of first impressions, initial thoughts on a book that I picked up. I got at a very, very decent price. A game that I've been looking at for a fair while. It's something that I've always been sort of intrigued by, but never really pulled the trigger on. And I finally was able to grab a copy at a very decent price, and I thought, what the hell, give it a shot, see what it's like. I've always been interested in the concept of this game. It's also a media tie-in kind of a game, and by that I'm talking about Doctor Who, the role-playing game, Adventures in Time and Space. This is the limited edition rulebook. It is put out by Cubicle 7, and we've partnered with BBC. Of course, the Doctor Who show is a BBC show. And Cubicle 7 is the publishers of many games, including the One Ring role-playing game, which is a Middle-earth role-playing game. I don't have a lot of experience with Cubicle 7. I know about the One Ring role-playing game. I've never been able to secure a copy, although I hear it's one of the best versions of playing in Tolkien's Middle-earth that has ever been made, from people that I've talked to in the interwebs and stuff. I have some of the Adventures in Middle-earth. I believe that they were instrumental in that part as well too, which is the 5th edition versions of the One Ring. And you can see my reviews of those back in the catalog as well too. Doctor Who is not one of those shows that I was ever a huge fan of because, well, one, I'm from America. Two, it just wasn't something I watched growing up. It just wasn't available to me in the States as much, and I grew up watching Star Wars and stuff instead. That being said, I've always been intrigued by Doctor Who. I have seen several Doctor Who shows. I've watched several of most of the seasons. Am in no way a Doctor Who specialist or authority. I really know very little other than the Doctor can regenerate and that there's been several different incarnations of him. I believe 12, maybe. See, that's the extent of my thing. And I know that he travels through time and space, and I know that the show was very limited on budget, so they went very story heavy on a lot of things. So yeah, I know the basics of Doctor Who, but none of the actual extra fluff and or history behind it as well too. The thing that struck me the most, and the reason why I was interested in the role-playing game, was because the episodes of Doctor Who that I'd actually watched were so entertaining in the aspect of the story itself. There was, every episode I've watched had these weird, quirky, corny, either special effects or moments to them, but it was totally overridden by this amazing storyline that was being told in each episode. And I feel like that was the key behind Doctor Who itself. They knew that they didn't have the budgets to do things like there's overwhelming special effects and stuff, and so decided to make it still a science fiction show. So for instance, looking at the Daleks, totally a upside down trash can with a plunger on the front of it, right? But to counteract that and to make those creatures, those aliens, those cyborgs, whatever they were, an instrumental part of the story, they wove in this very deep narrative, this very overarching, great, well-written storylines. That's what intrigued me the most about Doctor Who. It's what intrigued me the most about trying to find a copy of the Doctor Who role-playing game. I have not played this game yet. I have just briefly read through the rules section and some of the character how-to builds. It uses, I believe, what they call the Vortex system, which I don't know if it's actually ever been used by any other game thus far, but seems to be very elegant and very, very simple, and I love that. Which, to me, the first thing I do when I look at a role-playing game is I want to find out what it is that the story's what story does the game want to tell? What is it looking to sort of emulate, right? And one of the things I always look for is social conflict. And I think, in my opinion, totally my opinion, I believe if a game has a management for social conflict that is well done and elegantly and simply done, that it's going to be a pretty decent game, in my opinion. Because I'm at the age and at the point in my role-playing career where I am beyond. Now, I love hack and slash, but I'm a little bit beyond that, right? I love maybe a one shot where you go in and you're simply just trying to hack your way through a dungeon and steal as much gold as possible. But there comes a point when you're role playing that you grow beyond the fact of just rolling dice and crunching numbers and trying to kill everything and loot the dead bodies. Where you get to a point in that where you want to tell more in-depth stories, and how do the dice mechanics also emulate those social conflicts and stuff, like arguments or court cases or intrigue. Doctor Who, the role-playing game, the Vortex system is very simple. It is an attribute score added to a skill score, rolling 2 6-sided dice and trying to beat a difficulty number. Now, there are other things involved in that. There are story points which allow the characters to sort of turn things in their favor, maybe roll extra dice, get bits of information from the game master, as you know, much as story points do in many other games. There are also traits that will give you positive and negative traits that will also sometimes affect those dice rolls and stuff as well too. But that's the basic system, dice mechanic throughout the entire game. What's great about that is it's simple and it's elegant, and it allows you to do things like physical combat, social conflict, and a number of other things. Chases, time travel, everything like that, in one simple little package. And I've grown to really appreciate those kinds of games that are not... Now, while I love my super crunchy games, I do love Shadowrun a lot, and that's a game that I'm still a noob in, and I'm very starting just cutting my teeth on that kind of a game. There's a time and place for those, and I love that kind of thing, but sometimes I just want to tell an awesome story. Now, if you knew anything about me and some of my past videos, I love history. I studied history in college. I had a major in history and a minor in ancient languages. I love the idea of sort of like time, space travel, all this kind of stuff, science and history blended together. And this is what Doctor Who, I think one of the main selling points of this is, and I think is very fascinating to me, is the aspect of exploring time and exploring space and telling my own stories, telling stories as a group with my friends about those things, whether it be ancient Rome, or it be World War II, or it be World War III in the future, right? Or modern day conflicts, or it be some kind of crazy other world politics and intrigue. Doctor Who, I think, can emulate those things very, very well. Now, the other side of that too, I think, which is really great about the Doctor Who role-playing game, is that you can also play it very serious if you want. If you want this to be a very seriously minded game, that's very possible to do as well. If you want it to be campy and corny like the TV show at times, that can be done as well too. And I think that kind of plays into a lot of great things. It allows you to sometimes take a break from being a very serious campaign that it's focused upon, dark parts of history, and then, do a couple sessions or even a one shot that is just corny and fun and over the top and goofy, right? Also, to play the Time Lord, to play the Doctor, that is so... It's intriguing to me. I think it's awesome, and I can't wait to run this game. I can't actually wait to bring it to a table and see how people interpret what it is to build their own Doctor, right, and their own companions. So in the game, you can play it a number of different ways. You can play it completely just humans, sort of Torchwood-esque, if you know what that is, or you can play it strictly like Doctor Who, where one player is playing the Doctor and the other players are playing the companions. Or you can do it with a myriad of different things. If you want to have a Cyberman in there, a Dalek, or some kind of weird mixture of things, or whatnot, that's possible as well too. it's also Doctor Who. So you could also have an entire party of some crazy, weird time loop thing where everybody's playing a different Doctor, whether it be one of the Doctors from the show, or if it, a Doctor of your own creation. The 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 adventures in this are limitless, and I'm very excited to check it out. Again, like I said, I'm not a huge Doctor Who fan, and I really don't know a lot about this thing, but I'm excited to dive into this and check this out. I think mainly because there's a lot of great information in this, and the reason I also had to look this up too a little bit. The limited edition rulebook basically has everything you need to play in one book. It has adversaries, it has how to play, it has character creation, all that kind of stuff. Where I believe, again, limited knowledge. I believe some of the earlier editions did not have that. They had just like player handbook, game master's guide, that kind of thing like that. There's also a myriad of other things. If I really like this, there's a great bunch of other titles as well too. There's source books on the different Doctors. There are source books on just Doctor Who itself, so like background and history and time travel and all that kind of stuff as well too. But this is my quick review, first initial impressions on Doctor Who, the role-playing game by Cubicle 7. I'm excited. I can't wait to get this thing to a table. So until next time, I'm Questwise, and I'm out.